Hi everyone, this is Luxtos, and welcome to my Shadowlands Alpha quick specialization overview. We'll cover 3 different topics. We'll talk about the pros, the cons, but most importantly, how does it feel? Today, we're going to take a look at the Frost Death Knight. They did receive some interesting offensive and defensive cooldowns, but everybody wants to know, how does 2 Ended Frost feel? Because that's the question I get the most on stream. Lux, did you try 2 Ended Frost DK? How did it feel? Did you get those big obliterate crits? Well, I got good news and I got bad news. So at the moment, might be because we're in alpha and things aren't properly tuned yet, but things aren't quite the way they used to, okay? So we all remember 2 Ended Frost DK for the big obliterate crit, okay? And that's kind of what people wanted back from this. And it's not quite the case. That's why it is going to be listed as a pros and as a con. Because yes, it's cool. We finally got it back. We've been asking for it for such a long time. Please, Blizzard, we want 2 Ended Frost DK. And they gave it to us. I can finally have my Shadowmourne transmogged onto my weapon. I look badass. It's amazing. But the problem is right now, it doesn't seem to offer any gameplay element. Currently, most of my abilities like Obliterate, Frost Scythe, and Frost Strike don't seem to hit that much harder. They do have a little bit of damage difference based on the weapon that I equip, but it mostly seems to be just attack power related. So I'm not quite sure what the purpose of this is, if this was meant to only be a cosmetic change, or if they're planning to tune in things properly and maybe have a small difference between abilities. So maybe you can get bigger Obliterate crits with 2 Ender and bigger Frost Strike with dual wielding like it was in the past. We'll see what they end up doing with this. Overall, I'm still adding it to my list of pros. Because, you know what, if it's just cosmetic and they don't really intend it to do any type of gameplay change, and it's just there so you can have the choice and maybe more freedom as to what kind of weapon you can farm to play Frost, well, I'm okay with that as well. You know, if the balance is perfect and I just get to play whichever one looks good or whichever one I get a good weapon for, I'm okay for that. Next on the list, we got Frostwyrm's Fury. So I'm really excited about that one because to me, that became such a core thematic ability of the Frost Death Knight in Legion, and I'm really happy to see this one coming back. And I think we can all agree that Frostwyrm's Fury is probably the most epic and badass cooldown in the whole game. You know, it was just so class defining for me in Legion, calling down this giant bone dragon, raining down winter storm and stuff on people. That felt great. I don't know, it felt good to me. Especially with the legendary in Legion, that felt good. So I'm hoping they bring back maybe some legendary aspect to it. You know, maybe freezing the entire thing, stunning people, lower cooldown, you know, maybe. I don't know. I'm just giving ideas. I'm getting excited already about this. So that's why it's in the pros. It's probably, I was honestly almost more excited about this than anything else. It's my favorite cooldown in the whole game. It's just this makes me want to play Frost right now. So that's pretty much it for that point. I think it's self-explanatory. Up next, pretty straightforward, Hypothermic Presence. So that one's pretty cool because low cooldown of the GCD, and it pretty much just reduced the cost of every runic power abilities. So what's really cool about this is that not only can you use it as an offensive cooldown to empower your Breath of Sindragosa, for example, but you can also use it as a defensive cooldown. So yes, it will reduce the cost of Deathstrike. That means more self-healing. So, I mean, what's not to like? Low cooldown, no GCD, defensive and offensive capabilities. You know, that's a win for me. New Runeforge enchants. Seriously, how long have we been asking for these? Well, they're here now. We got them. And I decided to list it as a pros for Frost because I honestly think they're going to be able to benefit a little bit more out of this because they're going to be able to create some interesting combination with dual wielding. Not to say that Unholy and Blood are not going to change their enchants. That's going to depend on the tuning, but I don't know. I think Frost is going to have some fun with these, carry multiple types of weapon and do some interesting combination. We'll see what ends up happening. I think some of these are really interesting. I'm super excited for this. And lastly, we got a bunch of defensive cooldowns back. So we got now Lichborn, which is back to its former self, transforms you into an undead, 10% leech, and you're able to combo that with your new Death Coil ability to self-heal yourself. And then the next one, we got Sacrificial Pack. Pretty straightforward. You sacrifice your ghoul, do shadow damage, and self-heal. Wait, Lux, did you just say sacrifice your ghoul? Yes, Frost is getting Summon Ghoul back. Right now, it's a 2-minute cooldown. The ghoul will last for a minute. It will auto-use some of its ability, and then you can just explode it and do shadow damage and heal yourself. New defensive, new offensive. That's pretty neat. And then the best one for last, Anti-Magic Zone, group, raid, PvP, solo, anywhere, okay? You're going to be able to protect your whole party from incoming magic damage. The tuning right now is all over the place. We don't know what it's going to end up being like, but this is really, really, really exciting. This gives so much defensive possibility for Death Knight and Mythic Plus in Raid. I'm super excited about that one. All right, so now that we got the good stuff out of the way, what's the bad stuff? What doesn't feel good? To be honest with you, not that much. Frost right now didn't really get a lot of change, and it plays exactly like it did on live. And that's one of my major concerns, is that right now, there's not really any gameplay change. One of the only differences is you have 2 new offensive cooldown, and Two-Handed Weapon did not really add up anything. It pretty much does the same damage as Dual Wield at the moment, so that's a little bit of a letdown for me. And you know, I get that question asked every day on stream. It feels like people were putting so much hope into this, and they wanted this to be so cool and so new and refreshing, but it seems to only be cosmetic so far. But it's still alpha, everything could change. All right, and this last one is a little bit controversial. It caused a lot of heated debates on stream. And I'm talking about Death and Decay and Death Coil coming back into the Frost Death Knight spellbook. And my main concern currently is that you're never going to use any of those 2 abilities into your damaging rotation. So you'll probably end up using Death and Decay every once in a while in Arena to try to unstealth Sneaky Pete, and you'll end up macroing Death Coil with Lichborn for a little bit of self-healing. And listen, I'm on your side here. I know a lot of you really wanted those abilities back for some niche scenario. I know it's really, really cool to have more options in your toolkit, more defensive cooldown. It's always nice. But at the same time, I would just have liked to have a little bit of gameplay element built into these. I don't know. What if Death and Decay would cleave Frost Strike? I'm just throwing ideas out there. What do you guys think about this? Are you happy about those abilities coming back? Would you like those abilities to have a little bit more impact into your rotation? I want to hear what you guys have to say about this. All right, so after all of this, I would love to know, Frost DK, does it feel good? Should I main one going into Shadowlands? Honestly, it was pretty fun. Seeing Frost DK play with 2-handed animation again feels really, really good. Seeing that single number value for those big obliterate crits, while it does the same value as 2 smaller crit from dual wielding, it's still oddly satisfying to look at. And that's on top of having Frostwyrm's Fury back with a bunch of new defensive cooldown. So it does feel pretty good, but it doesn't play differently. So if you were looking for something new and refreshing, that's not it. It plays exactly the same as Battle for Azeroth, minus essences and Azerite trait. And you know, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's mostly going to depend on which build do we end up playing. Is it going to be Breath of Sindragosa? Are we going to be playing Ice Cap? Or is Obliteration going to see some play this time around? I guess we'll have to see. Alright, well that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoy it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because we have way more content coming up. We're going to be covering more classes and more specializations in the next few days. You do not want to miss on that. But you know what you don't want to miss on? The amazing community we have on Twitch. Click the link down in the description. Come say hello to us. You won't regret it. We have a really, really nice community. Awesome giveaways. Lots of content. Lots of fun. All right, well, that's it for me today. My name is Luxtos, and I will see you next time.